let's talk about modern JavaScript. So what is modern JavaScript? That's the first question. I don't particularly think there is a clear answer to that question. You can see how much JavaScript, oh, wait a minute. Wait, spoiler alert. Right, it's out of control. Right? So I don't particularly believe there is any obvious answer of what modern JavaScript means. There are some theories, right? You can see the first version of JavaScript was released on 1997, long time ago, right? 22 years ago, almost. In reality, the first version of JavaScript, which wasn't even a standard, was released in December 4th, 1995. Do you know how long it took the creator of JavaScript to write the first spec of the language?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Wrong. Less than that. It was 10 days. Yeah. I don't know why lots of blogs they say 2 weeks, right? Just to keep things single. It was even less than 2 weeks, 10 days. Yeah.
Well, it was 10 working days.
Ah, okay. Cool. Nice. Nice. Brilliant. So after 10 working days or 14 natural days, yeah, we got the very first version of JavaScript, which was pretty much nothing. Yeah. So you can see that the language has evolved. You see on the left-hand side ES. You know what ES stands for? ECMAScript. What is ECMAScript? This is a non-profit organization based on Switzerland. So there is a group called TC39. So there is some people, weird people, no one knows who they are, based on somewhere in Switzerland, you know, in the mountains. And they look after the JavaScript standard since 1997. Yeah. So to me, and you may completely disagree on that, I'm not against that, modern JavaScript should be ES5, which took in December 2009. Why ES5? Because starting from ES5, we start dealing with things that today, if you have a bit of experience with JavaScript, sound completely natural, like a second skin. I'm particularly talking about arrays. If you've been working with arrays, things that array.map, .filter, .reduce, what else? .sort, you know, all these sort of things happened in 2009. Yeah, it was weird. It was very weird to work with JavaScript without these utilities before. Yeah, my experience. I started in 2002 working professionally with JavaScript, so it was very complicated. But then everything became much easier. So apart from that, other people they consider that modern JavaScript in reality is ES6. Yeah? ES6 2005, only 4 years ago. In JavaScript time, 4 years ago is like 200 years in human time, right? Because it evolves so quickly. Anyway, does anyone know what are the main features of ES6?
Well, it depends what kind of job do you do. The main feature for you might not be the main feature that I use.
Okay, what are the main features for you?
I think arrow functions are pretty interesting in terms of performances.
What else?
String templates or template literals or whatever you want to call them, at least in the first version, the ES6 and ES7 are pretty popular.
Okay.
REST and spread operators, one the counterpart to the other, I think they're pretty handy.
Yeah.
Promise, I would be tempted to say that, but I think sometimes they have been a bit abused and they have
Yeah.
been implemented in a better way. And let's see what else was cool there. There is something else which is interesting.
What do you think about classes?
Yeah, that is really convenient.
Yeah. So if you have worked with any backend programming language like Java, C#, this kind of things, so you'll be familiar with classes. Yeah. However, JavaScript, historically speaking, has been against classes. Yeah. Actually, still today, there is an important part of the community who is against classes because they say they break some of the principles of functional programming. But anyway, we have classes, and you may like them or not, but that's definitely an important aspect of JavaScript. Thanks to classes, not necessarily thanks to classes, but because of classes, now we got things like React. Probably you heard about React. even Angular, starting from version 2, embrace classes as well. So, you know, it's definitely an important part of the language, regardless of whether, again, you like them or not. And then going down, this has evolved. Yeah, as you may have noticed, starting from 2015, you get a new version of JavaScript every year, every summer. Yeah, in the past, that was completely random. You never know when next version was coming. But now, fortunately, the releases of JavaScript are predictable. Yeah, these follow the agile principles. Agile means let's do regular releases, regardless of whether we have more or less content to deliver. But our community will know that in June 2019, there will be new stuff. Yeah, we'll see at the end of the session very quickly what's coming on ES10. Yeah, so for the next 54 minutes, we would like to talk, Gray and I, about some of the new features of JavaScript. Yeah, I don't particularly find that the most important thing here is to understand everything. Obviously, if you understand everything, fantastic, right? I'm sure the guys from Tech System will offer you a job straight away. But even if that's not the case, one of the important aspects is to see how much the language has evolved. Yeah, you can find 10 lines of weird code, but then you can find the same problem solved with 3 lines of weird code. 3 lines are probably easier to understand than 10. Yeah, so that's what we like to prove today: the evolution of the language. So, first thing, REST parameter. So Gray would like to present what the REST parameter is.
Definitely. So it's one of the things that was mentioned earlier. The REST parameter or the spread operator both share the same syntax. We're going to basically look at some code now. So we're looking at perhaps an older way to do things. So this would have been a method we might have used around the ES5 sort of time, so 2009, those sort of areas. And yeah, we just basically want to see how the code has evolved over time and whether the modern way is perhaps a better way of doing things or a way that you find more readable. Things like that, really. So you can see up here that we've just got some popularity ratings. So I've just put a few people on there. Usain Bolt, he's a pretty popular guy. David Attenborough, everyone loves the nature programs of David Attenborough. Theresa May, unfortunately, is not very popular at the moment, is she, due to Brexit? Actually less popular than Lord Voldemort on these rankings, the villain from Harry Potter. So, yeah, not too popular. And David Hasselhoff, well, he's just a strange person. But popular at some times. Anyway, so up here, yeah, we can just see that we've got a way of finding out the maximum score out of those ratings. So we've written a function there to get the maximum score. So it's based on this object. We're using actually a modern method down here, but it's just the easiest way to do it for the demo. Object.values to actually extract just an array of these values here, 77, 13, and so on. And we're passing that into our function called old getMaxStore. So, I mean, a lot of people find the reduce method, it's a very powerful method, but it can be quite confusing sometimes and not always necessary to use the reduce method. Sometimes we can do it a simpler way. And yeah, in this case, that's what we've chose to do a demo. We're not going to talk about the reduce method tonight, but we'll just be aware that that's one way that you might have done it in the past. So we're going to look at another way now, using the REST or spread operator. So, this is the code that we got so far. Can everyone see that, by the way, or do I need to zoom in slightly? Can you see it at the back, Hazel? All good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Zoom in slightly? Or?
Yeah,
zoom in slightly?
Yeah,
oh, he's done it when I turned my back. Yeah, he snuck in there. Fantastic. So, yeah, the question really, we're trying to extract the same thing, find the maximum rating from that data, from those ratings. Now, this is our return statement here, our return line, so what we want the function to return. So just to pose a question to you, what will that return at the moment? If you do know the answer straight away, maybe just let people have a little think about it and shout out first, and then if you definitely know the answer, we'll come to you afterwards. So anyone got any suggestions?
Well, max ratings.
Say again, sorry?
Max ratings.
So just what will that return as it is for now, and then we'll look at a way to improve it or iron out any errors if that's okay, yeah? So undefined we've got, yeah, so any other suggestions? You can write this snippet quickly in your Chrome DevTools that you've got open if you want to have a go and see what it will return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that? Let's see if your body's ready for the answer.
Those carefully prepared slides that I didn't even use that Ricardo did. Sorry about that, Ricardo.
It's my fault.
I'll just give you a couple of seconds to do that, and then I'll run the code on the screen and we can see what it returns. Any other suggestions?
Maybe an exception that must record to parameter.
So the issue here, I think, is how math.max works.
Yeah.
What does that usually accept as an argument?
2 numbers.
Two numbers? It could be two numbers, yeah? How are those numbers fed in? Are they just primitive numbers, or in an array, or what?
2 parameters, which
And what happens if we have 3? Will it work? Math.max with 1, 2, 3?
yes, it would.
And if we have 4? Not a number.
Not a number. So you've actually run that code, have you? Okay. So yeah, when we actually do run that code, down the bottom here in your console, you should see NaN, which stands for not a number in JavaScript. So that is because the math.max method actually wants a list of comma-separated elements. Yeah. So it could be 2 numbers, could be 3, it could be however many we want. Yeah. But they must be separated by commas. At the moment, what is the format of ratings? It's an array, yeah, it's an array because object.values returns an array of numbers in this case, but it could be an array of certain other elements. So I think we had a suggestion at the back. How do we fix that? Well, it's one of those new features, I think is probably the easiest way to fix it, one of those new features that was introduced in ES6, so in 2015, and that is the spread operator, yeah, and the syntax for that is ... So 3 dots. Will that work now? Any guesses? Yes, we say yes. Let's run it and see what happens. So it has returned 89, which I think we can clearly see is actually the maximum value from that. Okay, I think we've got a little bit of time. Let's just play around with that example a little bit more. So how about then if we add some other scores in there just manually? Let's go for a 90, so should we go for a hard one? Okay, so we've now got 3 parameters passed in down here, yeah, 3 arguments that come into our function. So what do we need to do to change our function so that it still returns the max values out of all of these values? That was a bit confusing sentence, sorry. So we've got the values from our array, which are these numbers here, and we've also added 78 and 90 to our list of numbers. How will we just adapt our function up here to incorporate all of those numbers? Any suggestions? After ratings, we can add, oops, excuse me. So you're saying, what would be my next argument name? So you just want to say like score 2, and so we just do this first. So you could do score 2, score 3, you know, things like that, yeah? But there is another way of just gathering all of the remaining arguments. And again, we can use that ... syntax. So this time we're using it as a rest parameter. Yeah. So if we do ... and let's just call them, yeah, let's go for scores. I mean, it's good enough, right? And what that will do is that will gather all of the remaining arguments here into another array, or into another object, let's say, but into another array, yeah, called scores. And we can then use that in our function. So how would we use our scores in our math.max?
Does that actually work?
You want me just to run it and see if I haven't broken it first? Is that what you're saying? still returns 89 at the moment, so we haven't used that value of 90 yet.
After ratings, we get parameter as second parameter of max.
Yeah, so math.max just wants a list of comma-separated variables, right? So if I did comma, I did scores on its own, that won't work. Okay, because we're still passing it an array. Scores itself is now an array of 78 and 90. But can we do the same thing? Can we do dot 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 again?
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah, it just take any iterable object and spread it into its individual elements, comma separate it. So now we can see that we're returning 90. Fantastic. Yeah, that's what we want. So as you can see, that the rest and the spread operator, they can be very, very useful things to use when we're dealing with, just lists of elements. These elements don't necessarily have to be numbers. We've just kept it as numbers to keep things simple. Very powerful. It can be used either up here to gather things, or it can be used to spread arrays. And I think it was 2018 that they introduced the ability to spread objects as well. So yeah, now we can actually spread objects out into a list of the key value pairs in objects. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget that these patterns, this has some limitations, right? I'll show you an example. What happens if at the end I have an argument, Donald? Yeah? Can I do that?
Ah, yes.
What do you think, guys?
It's giving you a little hint up
Yeah.
there, I think. We've got
Chrome
some
is spoiling the result. Yeah, that doesn't work. That's not supported. Even though that feels a bit natural, right? I want to gather all the arguments except the last one. That's not supported in JavaScript. But this is, in my opinion, one of the things that will be eventually supported by popular demand. One of the good things about modern JavaScript is that now everyone, literally everyone, can contribute and can vote for suggestions. There is a GitHub project with proposals, yeah? So if you like an idea, you can vote for it, you can contribute, and you can express your thoughts, yeah?
So will that work if you just get rid of characters?
If we get rid of the character, it will work, but now there is an issue, right? Because scores is an array of how many elements? 3, correct. 2 numbers and 1 string. Math.max is not going to like that. Yeah?
You can filter scores.
Yeah, of course, yeah. We can filter, yeah, of course. We can deal with that, yeah? But ideally, it will be super sexy to be able to control the problem using a very last reminder argument, yeah? Maybe next year. Not this is not part of JavaScript 2019, but hopefully it will be part of JavaScript 2020. We'll see.
Cool. Any questions on what we've gone through so far? No? Awesome. All right. Oh, wrong way.
What? Yeah.
Okay. So we're also going to look at just one other feature. Well, I'm going to talk you through one other feature, and then I'll pass back over to Ricardo. He's spoiled it again, hasn't he? So we've got a problem now, and it's not just that picture that is highly disturbing. That's a massive problem. So our problem in this context is, due to his decline in popularity, David Hasselhoff has found a way to replicate himself in our code. So we need to reduce all the copies of him in our code. That's your context, all right, for this question. We'll just make it a bit fun.
It's a movie. I feel a bit intimidated.
Yeah,
by David Hasselhoff.
it's very close to your head, isn't it? That is. Oh, hey, wrong way again. Okay, so we've prepared another little snippet to that effect. Again, using a slightly older method, maybe something around 2010 again, you would have written this JavaScript code to remove any duplicates from an array in this case, but it's a way to remove duplicates from your code. We would have filtered it, and yeah, I mean the code's very self-explanatory. Again, we don't want to talk about too much about that code tonight, but as long as you understand the function, and that can really be explained just by running it. So we can see that we originally had this array here of people, and it contained David Hasselhoff 4 times, right? When we actually run this code, filters out any of the duplicate names, and we just have one David Hasselhoff down the bottom. Unfortunately, we can't get rid of him completely. I guess that would be murder or something. So we're leaving him in there once. It's only fair. And yeah, that's one way to do it. A more modern way, perhaps, is using a new data type called a set. So anyone with a mathematical background, that might mean a little something to you. Doesn't matter if not, and it's not exactly the same anyway. But yeah, so this new data type, we'll explore it a little bit and see if we can work out what it does first. So all I'm trying to do here is I've created a new set object using the new keyword. That's got values of, it's got 3 string values of 1, 2, and 3. And then we're trying to add another value into that set of 4. And then we'll console log that, see what result we get, and then add another value of 1. All right, got it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we'll just clear that so you can see the new example. So, any ideas what this will return in each time? So when we add 4, what will our new set object be? 1, 2, 3, 4. And when we add 1? 1, 2, 3, 4. Why not 1, 2, 3, 4, 1?
Because sets can't contain duplicates.
Exactly, yeah. So as exactly, yeah. Well explained. So that's one way you can use a set, is it doesn't allow any unique elements to be incorporated into it. So when we do run this code, hopefully we'll see exactly what you just said. So we can see our first console log from line 3 just returns our original set with set 1, 2, 3. Line 6 returns 1, 2, 3, 4 because we've added that 4th element. Trying to add an element of 1 does not change our set in any way because we already have a 1 in our set. So now,
also note that it's keeping the order, unlike other programming languages. So it is an order set, the one which is available implemented in JavaScript.
I didn't fully catch that question. Sorry, are you saying
I
this?
will also notice that it's keeping the order.
You want them to notice that it keeps the order?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have an order and an order set.
Yeah.
C++ and so on. The one by default implementation in JavaScript is order, which can be convenient.
Fantastic. Yeah, really good point to raise as well. So my challenge to you then, using this new data type, is can we replicate this function here that we had using set? And if so, how would we do that? Any ideas? So you want me to return new set? And what am I passing? Names? Yeah. Okay. So what is that it? What will that return at the moment?
You should encapsulate everything inside array from.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So let's run it for now and see what we get. So I should have mentioned as well, actually, that so this method that we had here, the older method, we can see that it does return an array of 5 elements. So in this case, we're trying to return an array of 5 elements. Just because arrays are very, very powerful in JavaScript, they've got a lot of built-in helper methods that we can use further on in our code. So I want to return it as an array.
Put square brackets in the front.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna run this code now, and then I'll come back to you. All right. So when we run it, then we have returned a set of only 5 elements. So we're definitely halfway to solving the problem. As you can see, there's only one David Hasselhoff now. And then if we wanted to return an array instead, yeah, go ahead. Whereabouts?
In front of me.
Sorry, in there or in front of me? Yeah, there.
In front of me. Square brackets.
Yeah.
3 dots.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was just going to encapsulate it first. And you want 3 dots here? Okay. So again, we're using that spread operator because a set is again an iterable object in JavaScript, so we can spread the elements of it and pass them as elements into an array. So let's run that now, see what we get. We get an array now. Notice the square brackets of 5 elements with our names as desired. So again, we've combined a couple of new things there, the set and the rest in the spread operator. So hopefully you found those examples fairly useful, but any questions, let's fire them away now. Yeah?
So I've got a question. You know, when, say you had a set of numbers, yeah, and you had 1 and 1.000, would it truncate them all to integers? So would I get 1 and I'll get 1.0, or would I get just 1?
So you want to pass in an array of numbers?
Yeah, 1.
What, just 1 on its own? Yeah.
1.0.
1.0.
Comma.
Yeah.
2 or whatnot.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see what goes in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that.
Yeah, so it recognizes 1 and 1.0 is the same in this case. If you had 1.01, yeah, it represents that as a different number, so it's not truncating it in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Yep.
Any other further questions on that bit, or I think we'll probably move on rather than play around with that anymore. Yeah.
When
rather use a set though? Is it more efficient than?
More performant, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on what data you're working with again and things like that.
If you want to avoid duplicates, yes, because for example, the other code was running quadratic time. Instead, a set usually as an n log n as a implementation.
Yeah.
It's better if you want to avoid duplicates, yes. Particularly with a big set.
Yeah. Okay, good stuff. Shall I hand back over to you to
Yeah,
do some
definitely.
object destruction? Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic stuff.
Thank you, Ray.
So we'll play around with the rest and the spread operator later using our training platform, so you'll get a bit more practice on those later.
Before that, a bit unrelated. That wasn't expected, but because you've been talking about numbers and stuff like that, does anyone know what that returns? Nothing. 0.3? 0.3333. So we should expect that to return 0.3, right?
No, it doesn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we are now talking about modern JavaScript. That sometimes to appreciate the good things of modern JavaScript, it's good to look back to how classic JavaScript works. Yeah. There are some weird things about classic JavaScript. If we got time, I would like to show you at the end of the session my favorite JavaScript talk ever. It's a 4-minute video. It's gold. It's pure gold. Yeah, about the guy that tries to demonstrate how stupid sometimes JavaScript is. Yeah. Anyway, let's for now talk about modern JavaScript again. So I'll present you a problem. So imagine that we have an object of characters. As part of the object, we want to maybe display the top character of each country, right? So US, Donald, UK, Teresa, Korea, Kim, yeah? Yeah, so now I would like to display the top character of each country, right? It's a very simple message. So I'll do console.log. Let me create variables first. So let top. There's few variables, right? US equals characters.us. I want just to have some variables. Let UK equals characters.uk. Finally, let Korea equals characters.korea. Yeah, I'm creating specific variables for each character. So then, once I got that, I can do console.log. The characters are US, UK, and Korea. Yeah. So if we run that, you know, it works. That's classic JavaScript. With modern JavaScript, we can destructure the object. What destructure means? We can replace these boring boilerplating lines of a very similar code with something very sexy. We can do that. That's it. Yeah. This is object destructuring. You can see it still works. So what are we doing here? Here we said, hey, please, JavaScript, create a new variable called US. And what's the value of the new variable named US? The value will be characters.us. Then, I'm not done yet. Create a second variable UK. What's the value of the new variable called UK? Characters.uk. And finally, create a third and last variable called Korea. And the value of Korea will be characters.korea. You can see it's an easier, simpler way to assign values of an object into variables. Yeah? This is object destructuring. That's a relatively new thing. Destructuring not only applies to objects, also applies to arrays. So if you like motorsports, let's display the starting grid of the next Formula 1 Grand Prix, right? So first of all, we got Ferrari, and then we got McLaren, And then we got Minardi, right? So how do we display who is first, who is second, who is third? Well, with classic JavaScript, we can do let first equals, how do we access, guys, the first position of an array? 0. Like that? No. Square bracket 0. Right. And then how do we display the second element of the array?
1.
Correct. And then the last one. Correct. Yeah. You may have noticed, even though that's not part of the session, that as soon as I copied that line, look at what happened. Internet explodes, right? You see all this red line. Why? Does anyone know why Google doesn't like that line? Correct. Another very important feature of ES6 or ES 2015 is the introduction of let and const variables. In the past, we always had something like that. Bar, you remember bar, right? That's classic, classic JavaScript. With modern JavaScript, we can also use let and const. There are some subtle but important differences between bar and let. One of them is scoping, which we are not going to explain now, but a very trivial one, a very basic one, is that with bar, look, you can redeclare a variable. That's fine. Let is a bit more strict. You cannot do that with let. If you try with let, it doesn't work, right? So, anyway, let me bring the second and...
Sorry, you mix it up. Can you do one let and one bar?
Can you do one let and one bar? I hope so. Yep. Oh, no, you can't. Interesting. No. As far as let is involved, that's it. Yeah? Cool, good question. So,
And well, I think I would also recommend never using var in modern JavaScript because it's a major pain. When you debug it, you can have some match issues because of hoisting, because of let's say a lot of troubles which have accumulated through the years that you have no idea. Can be a major pain. You can spend days having no clue because of the scope, because of hoisting and so on.
yep.
If you always use a left and constant, you're going to live so much better. Your stress level will go, you smile more. I recommend it. Your doctor will be happy as well.
Cool. Yeah, some people are still complaining about these things. For instance, if I do const age equals 23, right? That's okay, right? Can you do it now age equals 21? Let's see what happened. Ooh, there's an error. Assignment to constant variable, which makes sense, right? Hey, if I'm declaring a constant, yeah, you cannot change your age afterwards, yeah? It's not legal. However, what happens if I do that? I create a variable called person, age 17, but then because we want to join a very posh club in central London, can we do that? Let's see what happened, right? If we display the person, it does work. Right? So be careful when using constants.
As a rule of thumb, you should just consider when you declare something with a constant, you cannot just assign it anymore. You cannot just do equal and another value, but it's easy to remember.
Yeah, but that's a soft rule, right? That's something that we as developers should take into consideration because JavaScript still is going to let you, do this sort of things, yeah? That's why today we got things like TypeScript. You heard about TypeScript, right? With TypeScript, you can have better control on what you can do and what you can't do with constants.
Because I'm thinking, why are you allowed to do that? Because of the point at the object person.
Correct. That's correct. That's correct. Because when we work with complex data types, mainly, but not only objects and arrays, in reality, they refer to memory address. In reality, when we change a property, we are not changing the physical address of that variable. That's why it's still technically speaking possible, but from a human point of view, a bit, you know, smelly. Anyway, let's go back, guys, to the destructuring, array destructuring problem. So that's the way we can easily display console.log. This is the starting grid, right? We got first, we got second, and we got third, which is fine, right? If we run that, display the elements, yeah, at the bottom. However, again, with modern JavaScript, we can do something quite interesting. I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to do let first, second, and third equals starting grid, yeah? You see, that's the same principle we explained 4 minutes ago when talking about object structuring. So how that works? Let's see if it, first of all, let's see if it works. Here you go, it does work, yeah? So the way it works is, hey, please, I'm creating an array, but in reality, I don't care about creating an array. I want to create 3 variables. First variable first. First will be assigned to the first element of the array. Second will be assigned to the second element of the array. And third will be assigned to the third element of the array.
Sorry, I noticed when you did the last one, you did the curly brackets.
Yep.
And this one you're doing the square brackets.
Yes.
Does it make a difference?
Of course, yes, because here we are destructuring an array. That's why we need square brackets. Before, we destructure an object. That's why we need curly brackets. Yeah. What happened, guys, if I type that? So what will be the value of third? McLaren or Minardi? That's correct. Which is a bit confusing, right? So that's why here, this is a good example where semantics are vital, yeah? So it doesn't matter how we name the variables. I can call that variable Brexit, yeah? It doesn't matter. The thing is, that variable will be assigned to the second element of the array, to the element with index number 1, correct, yeah? So because of that, please be careful with the semantics. If you are working as JavaScript developers, or if you've read a bit about JavaScript, every blog post tells you you should write readable code. Because if you write readable code, it will be standard, and you'll be able to interact with your colleagues. However, there is a small part of the community, yeah? You know when on TV there is this kind of commercial that, how's that? 9 out of 10 doctors recommend gums without sugar, you know? That means that 1 out of 10 say, no, you should eat gums with sugar, right? So there is a small portion of this is kind of a joke, right? But it makes some sense. Some people say, again, that's a joke, don't take that seriously. Please write the worse code the better, right? Because if you create really bad, very unreadable code, you'll never get fired, right? Because you'll be absolutely vital for the company, yeah? So this is a good example of what you shouldn't do unless you want to make a joke about JavaScript.
What about if the length of parameters are not the same?
Say it again?
What about if the parameters are not the same?
If the parameters are not
Means
similar,
that in starting there are 3 elements, and you try to assign 3 elements to the starting grid.
okay, so
So that we removed one of them.
yeah, we remove one of them. That's a really good question. What happened, guys, if now we remove Minardi? What's the value of third? Undefined. That's absolutely correct. So now that should display this starting grid, Ferrari, McLaren, undefined. Here you go.
What about the reverse of that?
The what?
Okay.
The reverse of that, if we...
The reverse of that. What do you mean the reverse? You want to put third first?
No.
No.
I mean that there are 2 elements in...
Yeah.
But
If we have one more, you mean?
One,
Oh, right. What happened if we have Jordan? Yeah, Jordan will be ignored, right? No one cares about Jordan, unfortunately, for the Formula 1 followers. Anyway, so that's object destructuring. The reason why I wanted to present that is because now, as the last exercise of the day, I would like to do, yep.
Could you do the rest operator for one of them?
Could you do the rest operator? Oh, nice. You want to do dot here? Whoa. That's very interesting. generally speaking, what I say is, I don't know. So let's see. Google didn't complain. So A, it's a good starting point. So if our theory is correct, third should be what?
The rest of starting.
And the rest, what type of data is that?
SRA?
Correct. Should be an array of 2 elements, right? Minardi and Jordan. That's correct. That's nice. This is one of the good things of beautiful modern JavaScript. To be honest, I didn't know if that was correct, if that was acceptable or not. But based on my assumptions, I assumed that third was an array of 2 elements, and it was correct, yeah? Predictable JavaScript.
If you want to mention, the structure also supports the defaulting. So, for example, if you you remove a spread operator and you put a fourth and fifth,
Yeah.
you can assign a default to fifth.
So you want to put another one, fourth?
Fourth, and then put fifth.
Fifth.
Equal to, I don't know, whatever is your favorite schema.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means,
The fifth is going to be.
okay. Yep, nice. We can initialize the value of.
It can be convenient because not always you have all the data that you want.
And what happens if we do the same here? Will it take Jordan or hello? Jordan. Correct. Yeah, cool. That's a good point.
It works only
It's
when
optional.
when the value is undefined.
Yep. Cool. Nice, guys. So, as the very last exercise of the day, I would like to create a more complicated example where we'll be talking about the combination of some of the things we've been talking about and others we haven't tackled, like template literals. So I would like to do, I'll show you. I would like to integrate with GitHub. Do you know what GitHub is? Yeah, it's the Bible of coding, right? Every piece of software, not every piece of software, but 90% of the software is on GitHub. So I would like to do an exercise. So the exercise is, I would like to return, that's real, that's not fake. I would like to go to the internet. I don't even know if I have internet at the moment. If not, this is going to be fun, right? Assuming I got internet access, I would like to go to the internet, go to GitHub, and I would like to go to Facebook React. Oh, Facebook React. And then I would like to get the releases. So in theory, if we access that URL, that will return an array of 30 objects. Each object refers to one of the recent releases of React. You heard about React before, right? React? What's React? Correct. Is it a framework? No, it's not a framework. It's a UI library. There are some very hard discussions on the internet. A framework library? No, it's a UI library. Yeah, it's the way Facebook believes that modern web applications should be built. And according to the community support, they are right. However, there is a problem. The problem is that they got a competitor, yeah, which is Vue. If you've heard about Vue, this is a Chinese UI library. So there is a big fight here, East versus West. Yeah. So Vue follows a similar architecture, similar approach to React, but with some key differences. Yeah. So Vue inherits the good parts of Angular. If you work with Angular 1, Vue is based on that ish. Yeah. So yeah, again, there is a good rivalry. If you want to get a job as a JavaScript developer, if you want to work in Europe or in the United States, React is clearly the most demanded option. But however, if you move to Asia, especially, the Far East, Vue is clearly the king. Yeah, big fight. So I would like to integrate with both at the moment. I would like to go to Facebook React, give me the latest releases, go to Vue and give me the latest releases, and then we'll display some data. Yeah. So the very first thing I would like to do now, I'll need to zoom out a bit. I hope this is still readable. This should be enough, maybe. We'll see. So I would like to create a function called fetch data. As part of that function, I would like to actually put that inside, and then, again, talking about modern JavaScript, you can use something called fetch. So fetch is the built-in function to go to the internet and fetch data, yeah, kind of. So I'm going to the internet, I'm going to React repo, whatever it is, and then using fetch, we need to, that's a bit weird, but this is how it works, we need to transform the result into a JSON. So you can ignore that part if you want, it's part of the standard. So when you transform to JSON, you're essentially having a readable piece of data in the browser. So,
you forgot one S in the first response.
yes, thank you. So let's see if that works or not, right? So one of the problems when you start working with JavaScript is we tend to write 50 lines of code and then we press the button and we expect it to work. And that only happens in movies, right? In real life, it's recommended to write a couple of lines, test it. If it works, move on. If it doesn't work, go back, yeah? This is what I'm doing now. This is not the end of the exercise, but hey, I want to see if I miserably fail on the first 2 lines of my exercise. So I'm going to call fetch data, and I can type .then. This is about promises, which we haven't been talking about today. But promises are a relatively new way to control asynchronous code. Yeah, you can imagine that going to the internet and getting the results back, it may take a while, right? It may take 2-3 seconds. Yeah, so promises are really good on that. So fetch the data, and then once the data is back, regardless of if it takes 1 second or 1 minute, hopefully not 1 minute, but we'll see. I got what I got. I got the releases. Let's create a variable here. So because I got the releases, I can do console.log the React releases are releases. Oops. Yeah. So if that code is correct, that will at the bottom display an array of 30 elements. Oh, yeah, you see, DevTools was disconnected from the page. So this is one of the classic things when you work with DevTools. Sometimes it stops working and no one knows why. So whenever that happens, and that happens unfortunately often, so what we can do is we can try to, speaking what I do is I kill the browser, I copy everything even though it's persisted. Yeah. Do you want to leave? Yes. So let me completely, let's try in a new tab and see if it works. If not, I'll completely kill Google Chrome. I create a new snippet. Yeah, so now maybe I don't have internet, by the way. So let's see if I got internet at all. Yes, I got internet. So I'll kill Google Chrome and I'll try again. And if it doesn't work, then it's what it is, right? Sometimes I'm not going to restart the laptop now. So yes, for that. Yeah, I'll show you the code anyway. I'll show you the code. If it works, fine. If not, you know, you can try at home. So again, I'm going to open an incognito window and then, yeah, so new snippet. I'll zoom it in a second. So let me see the code is correct. Fetch data, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Unless anyone can see any issue, I believe that code is absolutely correct. Yeah, so it's not Google Chrome's day. So anyway, even though I won't be able, unfortunately, to show the result, it's completely, it's completely broken. But anyway, I can show you the algorithm, right? Even though you can just trust me with the results. So running that code, it will go to the internet and it will display the list of releases. Yeah, I'm wondering whether that's a firewall issue or things like that. Yeah, it could be.
Have you got a code runner in VS Code?
Yeah, no, I'm afraid.
No.
Yeah, something is not correct here. Anyway, so let's do the exercise. So I can go to React and I can display the list of releases. Fair enough. But then I want also to go to Vue and do the same thing. Yeah. So I want first of all to go to React, and then I would like to go to Vue. So to do that, I'm going to create a function called getReleases. And look at my plan. So as part of getReleases, that function, I'm going first of all to show the old way, just to compare how easier JavaScript is now. So what I will do is now, because I want to call fetch data twice, one go to Facebook React, then go to Vue. So I would like to pass a couple of arguments, owner of the repo, and then the repo name. So let's change that string. With classic JavaScript, you can do that. Yeah, so you can combine a string with variables. Instead of Facebook, you can do that, right? And then same thing with React. So that's the classic way you combine variables with hard-coded strings. However, as you can see, that's a bit, it's a bit tedious, right? Because you need to add pluses around. It's okay, that's okay. But however, with modern JavaScript, do you know how to do that with modern JavaScript? Template literals, correct. So with modern JavaScript, you can use backticks. You see backtick? If you haven't done any JavaScript, probably you've never used that character, right, in your keyboard. If you're a Mac user, that's on the bottom left. If you're a Windows user, that's on the top left of your keyboards. So based on that, now, look, you can simplify the expression quite a lot. You see, using $, curly brackets, and then the same thing, $, curly brackets. Does anyone know why, when talking about coding, we use dollars and not euros or sterlings or things like that?
Because it was a user key, otherwise on most keyboard where the computer revolution started, so that is why we decided to use offering. Same for the hat that you use in email. It was an ancient typographic character. I think it came from accountability. A lot of people just found it on the keyboard and they decided to make something, but email became a thing.
Yeah, so the majority of the software comes from America, right? So, yeah, so that's the way we do that. By the way, do you know, that's talking about, you know, the origins of software and things like that. I believe the majority of you know the answer, but do you know when we talk about this kind of syntax, you see where we join words using capital letters in between? Do you know what's the technical way to describe that? Camel case, correct. Why camel case? It's like a camel, right? It goes, that's like that. And what happened if instead of that we do PHP style, right? GitHub underscore. What's the name of that case? A snake, correct, because it goes down. Eh? It's like a snake, you see? I don't know if snakes do that, but anyway, at least. Right, and what happened if we have, which is not valid in JavaScript, but it's not valid as a variable name, but that's still a valid case in software programming. If we have that, how we call that?
Usually for files or
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Stack Overflow, right, especially with the millennials, they call it kebab case. Yeah. Kebab case. If you are a classic JavaScript, not JavaScript, classic developer with, you know, in your 50 or 60 years old, probably kebab case will feel a bit weird, right? So classic developers, they call it Lisp case. Lisp was the first programming language to introduce it. And finally, does anyone know? You remember that was the easiest one, right? That's camel. What happened if I put a capital G at the beginning? What's that?
Pascal case.
Correct, Pascal case, the same thing, yeah, because Pascal was one of the first programming languages to start using that case. Anyway, so we got our getRelease function. So we'd like to invoke fetch data. So here, look at the way of thinking. Go to Facebook, and then out of the Facebook world, give me React. Yeah. And then it's a pity I cannot run that, but anyway, once I got React, then I got React releases. Yeah. So once I got the React releases, then do the same thing for Vue. Okay, no problem at all. Fetch data again, go to the internet again, go to Vue.js, which is the owner of the repo, and the repo name, the main one, is called Vue. And then once you got that, Vue releases, yeah, we can do return again. Not saying that's perfect, but we can do React releases, comma, React releases. We can return an object. First of all, give me the releases for React, and finally, give me the releases for Vue.
Again, sorry. You know the first name you put up there, is there a reason why you put that in brackets and the rest of them are not in brackets?
Yeah, you mean the parentheses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are optional. Yeah, talking about arrow functions, parentheses are optional if you have a single argument. Yeah, cool. So that will be the classic structure of nesting two requests. So it will go to Facebook, then after 30 seconds, it will go to Vue, and then after 40 seconds, because it's in China, no, that doesn't make any sense. After some time, it will essentially capture everything, React and Vue, so then it will display the results. So that means that at the bottom, in here, we can do releases dot what?
React release.
Correct, React releases. And then we can do another console log. The Vue releases are what? Vue releases, yeah? You get the idea, right? So that's the classic way to do that. But unfortunately, that's a bit complicated to read, right? You know, when we are nesting multiple levels of asynchronous code in JavaScript, not only in JavaScript, and any programming language, do you know what's the popular way to express that pattern, that coding pattern?
Callback hell.
It's callback hell, that's correct. That's correct. If I do a quick search on Google, callback hell, that's my favorite picture ever. Yeah? That's considered an anti-pattern because it's very stressful. Loading. Oh, you know, you prefer to die than doing any coding anymore. Yeah. So to minimize the impact of having callback hells, fortunately with modern JavaScript we got something called async await. So async await is a very nice feature that changes everything. Keep that there, keep it in your mind because I'm going to delete it, at least partially, and you will see how simpler JavaScript. This is a good example. I'm not asking everybody to understand what we've done. I'm asking you to compare in your mind that code, especially this, compare lines 3 to 7 with modern JavaScript. Because this is not going to work because, you know, we got network issues. Oh, it's working now. Brilliant. So suddenly now, that's unexpected. It worked, right? So network is back, it looks like. So you can see the two console logs. React releases, yeah? And we got 30 result, whatever that means. But you can see, you see the release version, the date, you know, lots of details, right, for every React release. And actually, we can do the same thing with Vue. So last was the latest React release, 16.8.4. Fair enough. Was the latest Vue release? 2.6.8. Yeah. Whatever. So once we got that, and because of now it works, how do we solve the problem with async await? Async await essentially gives you the opportunity to transform this callback hell into something more linear. So the first thing we need to do is to put async, yeah, on the left of function. I believe that's the very first ever in history, ignoring module export import, that you can add a prefix to functions in JavaScript. You can type something, async, yeah? So this is a way to tell JavaScript, be careful, because there is equals await that. Yeah? And the same thing with view. Let view releases equals await, same thing. And finally, we can return everything. You see the difference? I hope you agree with me that these 3 lines, even though it's not a massive difference in terms of number of lines, but in terms of readability, yeah? I hope line 3 to 5 is way more readable than 7 to 10. Yeah? Because it's line number 1. You don't care if that takes 1 second or 20 minutes. Well, probably if it takes 20 minutes, you care. You do care, right? But you don't care how long that takes. You don't care about how long that takes. So JavaScript will stop. Will stop here until it gets the data from Facebook React. And it will stop again here until it gets the data from Vue. And eventually, once all these details are retrieved, then return the result. So now we can delete that safely. And let's try again and see what happened. It works, right? So it's the same result, but now the code is way more readable. And finally, that structure is a bit overcomplicated. That's the last thing I would like to talk, just in 1 minute. React releases, value React releases. Vue releases equals Vue releases. You know, whenever you have key equals value, yeah, whenever the key and the value are the same, you agree, right? That's the key, that's the value. They are the same. That's the key, that's the value. They are the same. We can simplify that. We can do that. Look. That's it. Yeah? Simpler. So here what we say is please return an object. The first key of the object is React releases. The value of the React releases key is the React releases variable. And same thing here. The second key of the object is Vue releases. The value of Vue releases is a variable with the same name, Vue releases. Yeah? So if we try that, now still works. And finally, we can even simplify that. We can simplify that. You remember when we talked 37 minutes ago about object destructuring, that we can destructure, right? You remember the characters, US, UK, all these things? We can do the same thing here. Releases.react releases, releases.vue releases. Look at how sexy this is. I'm going to zoom it a bit. So we can simply do, hey, guy, please give me React releases and give me Vue releases. That's it. So now I don't care about the prefix anymore. Yeah? That's super sexy. Because even though that may not feel natural or obvious, that means that by the first time we have sort of name parameters in JavaScript. Yeah? Because React releases will be assigned to the React releases property. And Vue releases will be assigned to the Vue releases property as well. Yeah? And it still works. Any question?
Not exactly a question, but you mentioned that a way to stop JavaScript, which is, I would like to clarify, is not actually stopping all JavaScript, it's stopping that function from going on, which is so event loop evaluate is going on.
Yep.
If your user is clicking a button that is going to work, and that I think is worth clarifying.
Yep.
If you have a service worker, of course, that is on another thread, that is completely fine. In this specific case, I understand it was just an example, and it's lovely. I like how it's structured and so on. You might have considered from Isola, because in this case you don't have a need to stop everything.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in this particular case, we have a sequence of actions, right? We don't invoke Vue until we get React. But he's right? We could run these both requests in parallel, yeah, because they are not related at all, yeah. But that's, I mean, the only reason why we play this example is for academic purposes, right? To show you how to integrate with different endpoints, not because that's probably the best way to sort it out. Anything else? No? So the last 15 minutes of the session, I'll pass the control to Gray again, and this is what I said at the beginning of the meetup, that I would like you ideally to do some coding with us. So I would like to show you the platform that we have created, which is completely free, and you can join it and everything, to improve your JavaScript and surely your React skills. So if anyone wants to do that with us, it's completely free. Codely.com, and then I know some of you have been already using it. So once you sign up or you sign in, you can do training, yeah, JavaScript or React. That's the way we evaluate how good you are with JavaScript, yeah. So Gray is going now to do a very quick training using the REST operator. So we are going to have a few questions about JavaScript, and then about the REST operator. We'll have to solve them together, right, Gray?
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, so, yeah. Actually, just noticing that if it's the very first time you join the platform, you won't have access to the intermediate training, because you need to play a bit with beginner, right? Just to prove that you have some skill sets. However, that's a soft restriction. So once you're in beginner, if you on the URL, you type intermediate instead of beginner, you know, it's not a strong restriction, right? It's just a recommendation. Don't do intermediate unless you prove that you know how to return stuff in JavaScript, yeah? So once you know, sorted all these very strong restrictions, then we can do the training.
All right, so is everyone on that screen that wants to be on that screen and have a go themselves, or do we need to show you how to get to it again? If Lily's around, she can get you the wireless connection quickly. Is Lily around? Charlotte? No? You might have to do without, or just make do with your phone for now. Sorry, you can follow along. Yeah. Okay, let's zoom in slightly so we can all see. Should be okay, I think. So hopefully you remember a little bit from the talk earlier, where we were dealing with the REST parameter and spread operator. So we're going to put that into practice now, because the best way you learn is learn by doing, right? So I'm going to pass the control a little bit over to you guys, and you're going to suggest how we might solve this problem. So just to explain the platform a little bit, we've got our function here, or our function call on the left-hand side with the arguments that we're passing it, and our expected result that we want to get out of it. So in this case, we have some instructions, we have an array of numbers, as you can clearly see, and we want to return the minimum one. So we did something very, very similar earlier, right? We did it, get the max score for the ratings, very, very similar. So from this array, we just want to return -5 as a number, and so forth. So we've just done a very, very basic skeleton code there for you to get started. So just creating our function, so that should already be on your screens. How would we next proceed? I mean, usually we just start at the top and work our way down. So usually we'd start with our parameters, our arguments, yeah. So what can we call it? Array. We like to be a bit more descriptive if we can, just if we've got a large code base, maybe, you know, what is this an array of, or, yeah, so I think numbers works fine, or number array, something like that, yeah. So we can put numbers in there. We want to actually return something from our function, so therefore we need a return statement, right? Yeah, I think I heard math.min. Would people agree with that? Yes? So we got math.min, open brackets, yeah? So why am I using ... and not just putting numbers in? Because we're training the spread parameter, because, yeah, try and explain to me why.
Because it's possible to have more than 2 elements.
Yeah, so here we're passing in an array. There's a variable number of elements, right? So we want to actually give that in a format that math.min understands. And math.min only understands comma-separated arguments, yeah? And obviously numbers if you're working with maths as well, yeah? So ... spreads out all those numbers so that math.min can perform its method, its operation, and then return what we want. Anything else needed, or should we try and evaluate that? Yeah. So we've had a go at writing our function. There's lots of buttons up here on the top right on the platform, so we got the opportunity to share feedback. Sorry, did you have a question? Are you right?
I'm saying for elegance.
Ooh. Oh, okay, yeah.
Good player.
Someone's played it before. He's saying something about elegance here, so I'll run the code and we'll come back to that. But just at the top here, we've got some buttons. So if you have any feedback on the platform, we're more than willing to hear it and help improve the platform over time. There's a little walkthrough button here. I won't play it now, but if you're new to the platform, it's a good little walkthrough. We do try and make it time challenges. You know, add a bit of excitement there. And in our boot camps, we perform head-to-head challenges, and we reduce the time as we get more experience. and that helps with scoring things like your speed and accuracy. We'll come to later. We'll look at these things later. Reset, I'm not going to reset it because we worked hard there to get that answer. Skip, so we'll move on to the next question. This button here is the one that we're interested in at the moment, this blue one. This is our evaluate button. This will run our code and see whether it works. So I'm going to press that now. Okay, so you can see on the left-hand side we've got a green result. So in other words, we got the answer correctly. If, for example, I just come back over here and did it like that, oops, and run it again, so we can see it went red. Yeah, so you get the visual feedback as well to whether you got the answer correct or not. But someone mentioned elegance earlier. Okay, so one of the things that we train is to try and make readable code, code that your fellow developers actually want to read and want to work with. So even though they're not absolutely required now in the language of JavaScript, then semicolons are still recommended, you know, for elegance purposes. So we've got a little console down here saying missing semicolon, gives us the line, gives us some tips of how we can improve our elegance, and elegance is actually one of the things that we train and we keep metrics of on this platform to show your performance. So now if I run that again, we can see down here in the console, no elegance issues found. Yeah, so we've got 5 questions on this platform. We won't go through them all tonight. This is just to give you a little taster. And all these resources are free, open access for everyone to have a look at and train your own JavaScript skills. Currently just JavaScript, but, well, currently not just JavaScript, but increasing number of React trainings as well being put on the platform. So yeah, let's move on. So I'm going to submit that result. We'll move on to the next question. And how about this one then? So a little bit different. So this time we want to get a sorted array. So we've got our arguments here as separate numbers, and we want to return an array of the numbers, but sorted numerically. So usually there's some little hints on the left-hand side. We've got please use the rest parameter, because obviously that's what we're training. Anyone know a really useful helper method that might be applicable in this case? Sort, yeah, the clue's sort of in the name, right? So there's an array method in JavaScript called sort that we could use to help us in this case. So start me off, how are we going to write this one? Return's always a good place to start. All right, we're not going to put anything in here yet? No? No, just put numbers on its own like that? Oh, they're not even like that either. So why do we need to, are we spreading or gathering? What are we doing here?
Oh, you want to gather it in a thing?
Yeah. So. Really? I need to put square brackets here? Well, you're saying do this, yeah? What do you think, guys? If we do that, what does that do? Personally, I'm not entirely sure what it will do, but it might create a nested array, I imagine, because that ... that rest parameter is gathering all of our arguments here anyway into an array. That's what it does. It creates the array for you and puts those elements in. So that has created an array, and it's assigned a name of numbers to that array and stored it in memory. Yeah, so we can use it in our function. Cool. Any questions on that bit? Or no? So yeah, you said return. So what are we returning this time? Numbers, yeah. And we're going to use that helper method sort. Anything else?
I would put, in this case, it should work in any, because they are all one-digit number. But
yeah.
Is a lexicographic of a sort in JavaScript. You might wish to put a callback function which compares them.
Definitely, yeah. So sort by default will, yeah, it has its own internal algorithm, which works fine with just one-digit numbers to sort them. But if we had something like 1, 13, 21, you know, that the order would base it on the first digit as opposed to the actual numerical value that we think of. So 13 would actually come before the number 2 by default in JavaScript sorting algorithm. So instead, yes, we could pass a callback function in here for a more complicated example, but we'll just keep it simple for tonight, I think, and run it like that. Anything else, or is that fine? Semicolon, yeah. Let's remember that elegance as well. Yeah. So by default, do you think sorts by ascending or descending?
Smallest to highest.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So ascending, right? So if we do that, again, we get the green result. No elegance issues found. So let's say if we did want to do it descending, then we can actually pass our own sorting criteria, if you like, into.
Actually, we want to do
Callback
that.
function.
Yeah, we can do it.
Create callback function. 2 arguments.
Yeah. So I could call it num1, num2, right?
Don't we need to put that in brackets?
Exactly, because there's more than one. Yeah. So if we just had num1, that would work.
And then num2 minus num1.
So you say num2.
You can just do it in one line, can't you?
Yeah, I was running out of bit of space on the screen, but
Okay, return it.
oops.
That's what return it.
Huh?
Do you not have to put return it as well?
Oops. Sorry, not my laptop. There we go.
Semicolon.
Semicolon there. So lots more to think about. Ooh. What's happened there?
It's not in the right order, is it?
Exactly, yeah. So, you know, we wanted our result to be sorted ascending, and we've done the result to sort it descending. As you can see, that's correctly done what we wanted to do. 6, 3, 2, yeah? It's done the descending order. I'll just change it back so that we get our proper score for the question. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, in terms of what the guy at the end said.
Yeah.
If you were going to do it like with more than one digit, but the easy thing to be just put in a string and local compare both the strings, lexicographic compare the strings.
Would it be the simplest?
Because otherwise you're going to have to go look at the first one, or maybe put in an array, look at the first one, look at the second one, look at them if they're different, then you return something. First one. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on your data type, doesn't it, and what you're passing in. But for this example, I think it's just simple to keep it like that. But, got time for one more, or want to do one more,
right?
or we just leave it there?
Yeah, then we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so usually we get 5 questions, but we'll just skip through now.
You can submit that one, right?
What's that?
You can submit that one.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely submit that one. So as you can see, you know, you can use this platform for as much as you want. Get some really good JavaScript training, build up those core skills. We'll just show you how the platform works by skipping through the rest of the questions. At the end, you get the chance to review any questions that you've skipped and come back to them. But then do that final submit when you're ready. And you're greeted with something like this. So these are our performance metrics, and it's one of the ways how we measure our students, and also we pass these details on to recruitment companies who are maybe looking for developers, and this gives them a good profile, shows you what areas you're strong in, maybe what you need to work on. As you can see, we've got 5 key areas here: tenacity, accuracy, speed, focus, and elegance. So we measure all of those. Just to sum them up quickly, tenacity is basically you keep going, you keep trying for the question. So as long as you complete the questions, then you will get the maximum score for those. Accuracy, how many times did you get that red screen come up? So, you know, did you submit an incorrect solution? Speed, how quickly did you do it? So we took a little while just talking through it so that we can see our score for speed is a little bit lower. So we didn't get the maximum of 40 for the 2 questions, 20 points per question. Focus, did we cheat a bit, or not necessarily cheat, but did we use that really useful skill of going to Google and seeing what someone else has done and adapting our code to fit the answer? So we can measure focus in that way. Elegance, in other words, those semicolons, too many spaces, too long functions, things like that. That's the other area that we consider. So, yeah, do you want to talk a little bit more about the platform itself?
30 seconds, and then we're done for today. On top of the training, we got challenges. So challenges means we all play against each other. So that happened 2 days ago. You see, big fight here with some of the guys. Yeah, some of them who are here at the moment, right? So we play the challenge, and then we display the results, who finished from the bottom, you know, all these sort of things. And finally, a very useful tool is the comparison one. So here we can see different coding styles and strategies, right? You may know how to solve something, but sometimes it's good to see, for instance, that for the same problem, the way people, you know, approach it, yeah? Apart from that, over time we go, well, developers, we've got more than 400 developers on the platform already. We're in the ranks, yeah? So the ranks means that once this loads, takes a while sometimes. Yeah, so we can see how much everyone has progressed over time. Yeah, and apart from that, as Gray mentioned before, we'll be shortly introducing, apart from the JavaScript training, we'll have React training, yeah, which is a completely new thing. So that will be interesting towards doing the same principles, same pattern, doing TDD on the left-hand side. Yeah, so how to deal with React components. Yeah. So whenever you have a problem, so then it will evaluate it, and if it's correct, it will get green. If it's wrong, it will be red, and it will highlight the line, right? So again, the platform is completely free, so feel free to sign up. This is very beneficial, especially if you want to get a job, and that's one of the reasons why 90+% of our students get a job in the first 2 months after completing the bootcamp. Yeah. Places for the next bootcamp are completely sold out, but if anyone is interested to join us and to start coding professionally and all these sort of things, just drop us a message on Meetup or anywhere else. Apart from that, thank you very much, guys. I hope that was a productive session, and looking forward to see you soon. Thank you, guys. Cheers.
So please stay around. There's some drinks in the corner.